And here Jeffrey goes for h3, stopping any pin like bishop to g4, and after this Aravind immediately pushed b6, preparing for a5. And now here it's better for white to immediately go for castle, but here white has some another plans. Instead, he decides to bring his queen to d2. Basically, he wants to castle long side so that he can launch an attack towards this king side. And after this, knight to h2. Maybe he wants to push f4. And here clearly you can see that black wants to push this pawn further, and the best way to tackle this is simply a4. But instead, here white brings his knight to a4. And by this move, you can see that black adds a defense towards these pawns. Here black is preparing to play b5, attacking this knight. Okay, so this move is a mistake by white. But why? Let's see. This is because now black can start pushing his pawns. And in the next move, black is threatening to play b4. So suppose if white brings his knight to e2, now black can continue to attack by playing c4. And suppose if white tried to be defensive and he brings his rook to d1 so that he can guard this d3 pawn. But after this, now black can bring his knight to c5, creating immense pressure towards this d3 pawn. And suppose to defend this, if white plays knight to c1, now simply takes, knight takes d3, knight takes e4, attacking this queen, and after this queen moves, suppose on e3, knight to d6, and clearly you can see that in the next move black will bring his knight to c4, which attacks this queen, and then black can push and then you can see that this pawn push by black can give a better advantage to black. So let's go back to our move, which is yeah. So let me go back to this move. Rook at d goes to f1. So what can white play in this position? In this position, instead of this move, here white must consider g3. But why? And yeah, so this is because basically, suppose if a4 and now comes f4. Here you can see white can counterattack by playing this move. And if suppose black tries to attack by playing b4 with the same idea as I showed you, now simply knight to e2. And if c4, if black tries to push his pawn, then simply takes, and obviously you cannot capture this c pawn due to threat of queen takes d7. So that's why knight to b6. And after this, here white can actually capture this g5 pawn. And if a knight takes c4, now comes queen to c1. And if b3, black tries to attack, simply takes, attacking this queen. And here it's better for black to bring back this queen to b4 so that he can continue the pressure towards this king side. But let's suppose if black captured this f6 pawn, now black is losing. This is because now white can bring his rook to f1, attacking this queen, and after this queen moves, suppose on e7, now simply takes, and after this bishop to g5, attacking this queen. And now it's important for black to keep this queen into this 7th rank. This is because suppose if black is not careful and instead he brings his queen to b4 so that he can maintain pressure towards this king side. Now comes bishop to f6 check, king to g8, queen to g5 check, king to f7, and finally queen to g7 checkmate. Okay, so let's go back to this move. Yeah, so here instead you can see that after this move, so that's why suppose if instead of capturing this pawn, let's see what will happen if black moves his queen to b4. Now here white can defend this. Some of you might be thinking that how can white defend in this position? Okay, so the first move which white can play is rook at h goes to f1. And here's no need to defend this position because it is already defended by this queen, this knight, and these pawns. And I know that this position looks good for black, but believe me guys, here black cannot create an attack. This is because suppose if black decides to capture this pawn, then simply king to a1. So this will not work. And if black captured this c2 pawn, now here note one thing, that you cannot capture this c2 pawn by the queen due to the threat of knight to a3 check, and due to the spin, and you can see that white has to lose his queen. So that's why the only move for white is to capture this by the king. Yes, this is the move, and I know that this is like playing with fire, but believe me guys, here black cannot do too much since there is now no more threats. Uh, and suppose if a3, black tries to continue his attack, simply b3, locking this position. And now this knight has to go back, and after knight to a5, in the next move white is going to push this pawn and win the game. Wow, that's really amazing. Okay, so let's go back to this move. Okay, so here after this move, black decides to bring his queen to f7, but as I said, he must consider this move a4. And now it's better for black to take on f4, but instead he decides to capture this d3 pawn. A very good move by white, and here black cannot capture this b3 pawn. This is because now white will give a check, and after king takes g7, and we will not promote this to the queen. This is because after this then white will get checkmated by the black queen. So that's why the best move here for white is not to promote this to the queen, it is to promote to a knight. This is because now you can see that uh, white is giving a check, so that's why black is forced to capture this knight, and after this white can simply capture this d7 with a check, king to h8, queen takes e8 check, queen to g8, and after this queen to e5 check. The only move is queen to g7, and finally rook to g8 checkmate. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move b3, and here black decides to sacrifice his knight, which is a mistake. This is because now white can capture this c5 knight. And yeah, we know that black is threatening to capture this b3 pawn, but here Jeffrey finds the best move, king to b2, simply getting out from this danger. And now you can see that black is threatening to give a check from a2 square, and now here white have three options to continue this game. Let's see all one by one. Suppose if white decides to bring his king to c1, that will be a huge blunder. This is because simply b2 with a check, king takes b2, and after this queen to a2 check, king to c1, and finally queen to a3 checkmate. Okay, so suppose after this move, yeah, suppose after this, if he decides to capture this pawn, now by this white will lose all of his advantage, and now this game becomes completely equal. This is because now now black can bring his rook to b8, attacking this queen, and after this queen moves, rook to a2 check, king to c3, and obviously you can't go there due to this, so that's why king to c3, but after this b2. But now in this position white can actually sacrifice his rook by rook takes b1, this to stop this promotion. And yeah, suppose if black takes with the queen and promote to a queen, simply rook takes b1, and after queen takes h5, now white can play this crazy move, bishop to h6, sacrificing this bishop so that he can deflect this queen and bring his pieces into the attack. This is because suppose if queen takes h6, now comes f7 check, king takes f7, queen to d7 check, king to f8, rook to f1 check, king to g8, rook to g1 check, king to f8, queen to f5 check, king to e7, queen to e5 check, king to f7, rook to f1 check, king to g8, and finally queen takes b8 check, and clearly you can see that here white is winning completely. Okay, so let's go back to our original game. So yeah, so here what can be the so here in this position, white goes for to capture this b3 pawn, but this is a mistake, a slight mistake, because here the best move is knight to d3. This is because suppose if black tries to give a check, now simply king to c1, and now you can see that black cannot push this b pawn due to this knight. But let's go back and so after this capture, now this game become completely equal. This is because now black can bring his rook to so sorry, let me go back. So now, so why this game is equal? This is because now comes rook at e goes to d8, attacking this queen, and after suppose if he captured this pawn, simply rook to b8, attacking this queen, and after queen to a4, if he slides, and now you can see he's attacking, but simply rook to 8. And if suppose white blunders by queen takes c6, now this is losing because black can simply promote to the queen, and after rook takes c1, now in this position black can play this amazing move rook to a2 check, sacrificing this bishop. This is because after king takes b1, now simply queen takes b3 checkmate. But in the actual game, after knight takes b3, after this move, here black blunders by directly promoting to the queen. And in this position, Aravindh resigned. Let me know in the comment that how many of you likes this video. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.